Hi guys, we are Sistah Sistah. Anyway, welcome back guys. Thank you all for watching and listening. You're tuned in to another episode of Sistah Sistah. I'm Miss YaYa.
And I'm Zeitlin Perez.
And we are so excited to keep growing as a podcast and as a community. So remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and on any of your favorite podcast platforms.
We are well into our third season and we want to switch things up this episode.
Today we have digital creator and multi-brand ambassador, Sully G.
We'll get to hear Sully G's aha moment, but we're also going to get the first-hand crash course on how to get started as a paid content creator. Ooh, I want to know that.
She's been featured in Essence Magazine, BET Curl Fest, as well as Glamour Magazine and Allure Magazine. She's a curl connoisseur and a huge advocate of self-love.
That's why we're curl friends. It's great to have her on Sistah Sistah today. So let's welcome Sully G.
Hi, Sully. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today? You've been traveling a lot lately. Where in the world are you today?
So right now I'm currently home. I'm in Brooklyn. Right before I was on the phone with you guys, I'm planning another trip. So I'm going to be gone soon, but right now I'm home.
Let's get to it. So let's just kind of say how we all met. We met at a women's media community group through Harlem Trinity Church right before the pandemic. Isn't that crazy?
Insane. The timing was perfect.
Yeah, it's like we met and then the pandemic hit and then like, all right, everybody to their corners, everybody in their room. The world quickly learned working from home was gonna stick around longer than expected, but you already had a budding work from home business growing. How has this last year been for you as an entrepreneur?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I will say it was very fruitful, but also very confronting. It was very fruitful because luckily I'm in a space where I'm a digital creative. So there was no such thing as the digital world is closed. That's like the benefit of being a digital creative. So I was able to just create, zone in on that and then have brand partnerships and just be able to partner with different brands and communities. But looking back, I kind of looked at it as an opportunity to work. And I hit a wall where I was completely burnt out and I was confronted in that, this is a real thing. Like what's happening right now is very real on a social level, on a personal level, on a global level. And you really need to sit down. This is not the opportunity to just hustle, but it's also a way to just sit down and focus on what's happening. So I went through a series of things where it was like a mental breakdown. My hair started falling out and it was really just a whole bunch of moments that really prompted me to reflect on what I've been doing and how some of my behaviors or my actions are not the most sustainable.
Wow. And it's interesting because as a digital creator in such a crazy time, you kind of like are stuck in this middle ground. Like, how do I say that I'm happy and try this and all this craziness is going on in the world? So it's like, wow. And then you going through your own thing, as you just mentioned as well.
The way that it happened for me was the pandemic hit around March. And so from my 9-to-5 job, we were all prompted to work from home. So of course my eyes lit up. I was like, oh my God, I'll be home. I can create. This is lovely. There's a pandemic, but I'm home. I'll be safe. And then around, I want to say May, June, George Floyd, what happened with him took place, and it took a toll on me in ways that I don't even think my body could have handled. So between that triggered certain things. So that triggered one, like I'm not in a space to create because there's so much happening in the world politically and socially. I don't want to post a hair tutorial. Like nobody wants to hear about a hair tutorial when we're experiencing such racial injustice. But then because I was experiencing that, I believe what happened, I don't know for certain because there were several factors, but the level of stress contributed to my hair loss. So then I was really forced to take a seat back because I couldn't put nothing on my scalp. Like apart from my hair falling out, my scalp was like sensitive and red, and just like, I didn't know what to put on it because it was so sensitive. So there was that made me say like, I don't really want to do anything. And then the effects of that on my body really forced me to hope. I didn't stop creating per se. Like I did little things here and there, but I stopped working with brands for like 6 months. I want to say like for 5 to 6 months, I just completely stopped working with brands because I was like, my body just needs a break.
Wow, that's intense. But just kind of also going into understanding this transition, because now I'm hearing that you had a 9 to 5, or you still do.
Yes, I do.
No? So you're coming home 9 to 5. Like, how was that aha moment in saying like you're embracing this curly hair journey and then turning it into a business while a 9 to 5? Like, tell me that moment where everything just clicked and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do, what I'm meant to do.
Oh man, I started in around, I think it was 2018. I think I'm 3 years in. So I started around January of 2018. That's kind of like a whole other story. My mom moved and she asked me if I wanted to stay with the apartment. I said yes. So I had like 3 months to really decide what I wanted to do. And while I was here, I was like, oh my God, this would be the perfect space to just, record and have a YouTube channel because I have an extra bedroom. So I toyed with that idea. I prepped. And then January 1st on New Year's Day, as my mom was moving out, my camera came in the mail. So it was really almost like a transition of lives. So from there, I started, toying with just like hair tutorials. And then I saw that people were really following what I was doing, specifically with my red hair on my brown skin. Like my audience very much was attracted to that and like just hair coloring. So I was like, okay, what really sparked it for me was one year, I want to say like a year later in 2019, I received a check, $17,500 check off of a photo. And I was like, wait, huh? I had to do some negotiating and some contract work, but I just couldn't believe that I received that much money off of a photo that, like, at that time, I wasn't focused on partnerships. I literally was just creating content and just taking photos for thumbnails for YouTube and then for Instagram. So I was like, oh my God, like my eye for my photography is taking me to brand partnerships. So I was like, if I can continue doing this, then there's probably a career in this. And this was before the influencer industry just took off in a matter of like 4 years. It's insane. I started taking it seriously because I saw that there were commas coming in with the checks, whereas in the beginning, I was just taking like free products and $100. That year, I actually told my job, like, listen, I think I'm onto something here and I want to resign. Like I told them I need to leave. And they were like, well, we completely understand. They weren't fully sure of what I was doing. They didn't understand it, but they were like, just help us hire somebody and then we'll transition you. So I'm like, great. A month goes by, they didn't hire anybody. 2 months go by, we didn't find anybody. We were interviewing. So by month 3, I was like, guys, I have to go. Like I told you, 3 months ago that I wanted to leave. So the vice president, and this is really just God's favor at this point, because my job, I work for a nonprofit and it's a very old nonprofit. So some of the things that we do are very old fashioned, like working from the office 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and a time when no one was working from home. So the vice president spoke to my supervisor, and my supervisor came to me. He was like, Sully, this doesn't really happen often, but I just want you to know the VP said, if you need more time to focus on your business, we'll just let you work from home for part of the week. And then part of the week you can work here. And I was just like, because you have to understand, I've been advocating to work from home forever. So I have this book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and I bought that book maybe like 6 months before this happened. And in my mind, I was just so adamant, like, this is not the life for me. Like, I do not belong in a cubicle 5 days a week. And I would read that book and think about ways in which that I can make this happen for me. So now I'm presented with this opportunity and I'm like, so I can still keep my salary and pursue my dreams and have this salary support my dreams? Count me in, I really thought that God was asking me to resign, but I do believe it was a step of faith in seeing, if I give you this, can I trust you to lean on me? And I think he honored that act of faith and just saying, you know what, I'm going to sustain you, because That was in February, and then in March, the pandemic hit. So had I just walked out, I would have been out of a job for a year, over a year now, maybe a year and 4 months. So here we are today, and everything was really just in faith, like just stepping out in faith. And the reason why I love what I'm doing, of course, I love that I get paid and I get to work with brands and get free stuff, but like, this is stuff that I was doing for free. And I wouldn't work with brands for free now that I know what I know, but I would create for free because I literally can't picture myself not doing it right now. Even on my worst days, like I have moments where I'm like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. This is stupid. Or why am I doing this? But it literally itches me when I don't create something. And I think that's how you know that you are in the vein, that you are doing something that aligns with your purpose, when it's like, it's just a part of who you are. Like it oozes out of you and you don't want to stop.
Absolutely. That's like a singer has to sing, a painter has to paint, a dancer has to dance, a party planner has to plan a party, like the event coordinator needs to coordinate something.
For sure. I think this is such a dope story because, like you say, you thought that you were going one direction, and it was just to give you the courage to just say, hey, this is where I'm at. And, you know, my heart of hearts is telling me I gotta go. And what they did is gave you something better.
Literally. And it's so funny because, and I forgot this until you mentioned it, I did not have the balls to ask to work from home because I knew that it just was not a thing at my job. And then I just got promoted. So I had just got promoted. So I know my supervisor was looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, girl, you just got promoted and now you're quitting and now you can work from home. Like, what is this? But it really just boils down to like God's favor. Like he had to push me to that point where I was like, I cannot do this to get that. Cause I was not going to ask to work from home. Like that was just not coming out of my mouth.
But at the end of the day, something better came along that is actually aligned with what you really want to do. And you're able to balance it. And it's commending your work ethic that they probably like don't want to lose you either. You know what I'm saying? So that's, this is so great. I love this.
And they knew you could handle it. But the crazier thing is that before the pandemic hit, it's true what you say, that like if you would have approached them and said, I want to work from home, they would have looked at you like, girl, shut up. If you get these ideas, everybody else don't want to work from home. Shut your ass. Can you? So thank you, pandemic. But you know, so
right. I mean, I say that all the time. Like, I don't minimize the things that have happened during this time because it's very real. People have lost their lives. People have gotten sick. People have had mental breakdowns, myself included. But I also look for the blessing in the things that we go through. And this was like a blessing for me. Like a lot of this stuff I would not have been able to do. I would not have been able to operate in the capacity that I've been operating if I was confined to an office and came home at 6:30, 7 p.m. every day.
It's draining. And for some people it's draining. For other people, they can do it. But everybody's way of working is different, and we all got to find what works for us. The world is completely different since the internet began, right? Making a living as an influencer and content creator can be frowned upon by people stuck on traditional education and career choices. But this is a legit money-making lane. You're proof.
Living proof.
Mm-hmm.
I can say, and I always, I understand that perspective because it's so fresh. Like we're literally 3-4 years in of companies actually creating influencer marketing departments. So it's still very new, and it's new for us. Like even pitching our rates, how much we charge, like a lot of that stuff we pretty much make up off of experience and word of mouth. So there's still a lot of development that needs to take place. But when you talk to other people, or when I talk to family, or when I speak to the youth, I let them know, like, listen, people are not watching cable anymore. They're on YouTube and they're on Instagram. So companies have noted that and are committing to that transition. This year alone, the influencer marketing industry is supposed to pay out $10.5 billion to influencers. So that money that was going to advertising, that was going to commercials and billboards, that money has now funneled into influencer marketing. So I think for people who don't understand that, but understand TV, then they need to take, or understand from that lens that what you saw in commercials and what you saw on billboards is now influencers. They're walking advertisements, walking billboards, and people draw to them because they're real people behind a camera that they own, that someone else probably, like, it's just very realistic. And so it's very much an industry. It's a developing industry, but it's very much a real industry. There's people that are buying homes and cars and sustaining their families off of this income.
Rightfully so. We're definitely moving to a new age of how to market branding campaigns. And I feel that it's actually a good time for this transition, you know, because we have all these tools available to us. And who else than an actual person that may look like me, that probably, you know, understand where I come from, telling me if I should buy this product or not. Are you one of those type of influencers that are going in favor of the brand, or you just kind of like I'm one of the content creators that I'm honest, I'll tell you if it works or not.
So I wish I could be you should buy this because this is amazing, because I definitely would get more money in my pocket. But the truth of the matter is, the thing with the influencer industry and just who I am as a person is that people can read when you're selling to them, right? Especially when you're an influencer. The difference between a billboard and a commercial is that, you know, you post it, you see it for 30 seconds when you're walking by, when you're watching TV, and then it's out of your head. As an influencer, you're on, like, people are watching your life, and it just so happens that there's ads in between. So when you match the ad to what's happening in real time, you can tell the difference. I can share transparently now because it's happened that for this year, for the first quarter, I told myself I wanted to make $25,000. I didn't know where this was coming from, but clearly I've seen checks in the past, and I just had faith that it was going to happen for me. So I said, this quarter, between January and March, I want to make $25,000, and I'm going to make it happen. I was just about to make my mark, and then I had worked with a brand last year. And they circled back with me because they liked that partnership and they wanted to work again. If I would have accepted that deal, I would have made my offer like in February. Not my offer. I would have made my goal in February. But what happened was that brand all of a sudden was getting a lot of backlash because people were losing hair from some products that were in their ingredients. And I was like, oh no, I loved working with them. They were great. I loved their products, but I was just put on to something that literally had just happened within the last few months. And I was like, dang, you know, like, this is a nice check and I would have made my goal. And they sent me the products. There was a whole box of products here in my house, but I wrote them and I said, I'm sorry, there's something happening here. And like, I cannot push this to my community because I know what it's like to experience hair loss. I can only speak to what I've gone through. Before, I couldn't speak to hair loss because that wasn't my story, but I experienced it. And now knowing that, I can't do that to these people. And maybe it won't happen for me, but if somebody's trusting me with something on their body, I can't do it. So I ended up denying that contract. And I was bummed because I was like, man, I'm not going to meet my goal. But God, like, doubled that contract right before the end of my quarter. And I think it was just because of like the integrity and the honesty that, like, I didn't have to tell anybody that. I could have just said, okay, and then, you know, been like, oh, well, I didn't know. But I don't think it would have been responsible of me and my platform. So I don't push anything that I, one, don't try first, and two, don't vouch for, because I really value the people that follow me. And if you really think about it, brands come to you for the people who support you. And if you're not first for the people who support you, at the end of the day, you're going to end up not having brands because you're not going to have followers. So it's really like, I'm for my people. Like, I'm for the people who support me first.
Because I'm kind of also hearing that if you don't like the product, you just don't say anything at all.
Yeah, so I'm also not the type that is gonna like bash products just in my life, like not even as an influencer. If I don't have a good experience about something, I handle it professionally, right? So if I go to a restaurant, I'm not gonna like scream in the street, like, this is the worst restaurant I've ever been to. I'll speak to the manager and then I'll go about my day. And I'm very much that way with brands because I also know it's not just one person behind a brand, right? There's multiple people. So I don't think everyone should be held responsible for my experience. And also, I'm dealing with products that have to do with bodies. So like whatever happens to my body might not be the same experience that you have with your body. So I can't fault you for that. So No, I don't expose brands unless it's something that, it would have to really be ridiculous. I haven't had that experience just yet, but what I'll say is you won't see me vouch for them. And what I also do is I unfollow brands. So if there's a brand that I don't support for whatever reason, and I used to vouch for them, I'll unfollow them. And that's how you'll know that it's just not.
It's a better way to do it, because it's like Mama always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. And also, you don't want to put that negativity out on your page. You're all about positivity.
I'm now learning, and thankfully it's from the way I was operating anyway. So for example, the brand that I turned down because of hair loss, they were represented by an agency. I didn't bash the agency, or I didn't bash the brand, because I didn't feel like I needed to do that. I just told them, I don't think it'll be a good partnership. That agency also represents another brand that I'm now working with. So, had I took a bad turn with that, I maybe wouldn't have I know I wouldn't have gotten this partnership. But I think when you're in business, you have to learn how to play the game of business. And I think that's something that influencers are still learning, because some influencers don't have a business background or just a business mindset. They happen to just have a personality or something about them that attracted people and didn't realize that they were going to go into business. I've always had a business mindset, and I also studied business. So I just have a knack for people and business. And so I treat my brand as such.
That's awesome. So what does your family think about this new venture? Are they supportive? Do they get it? Because, this is a new thing. So a lot of people tend to get it or not get it when they're very traditional in certain areas.
Yeah. So I'm so blessed in that, my family, my mom was very here for it. I think in the beginning, people didn't know what it was. And then especially translating it to Spanish, we really don't know what it is now, because influencer is a thing in English, but in Spanish, it might not be a thing. So I think maybe my grandma was like, huh, because influencer is so many things. It's like marketing, it's modeling, it's, photography in the background. So at first they just thought I was a model, and then they thought I wanted to be a hairstylist. And I was like, no, it's actually none of those things. But my mom was always very supportive. And I think my family trusts my decision-making, right? Everything that I've always been very ambitious with. So if I decided to pursue something, they were so for it. Now everyone gets it. And even my father, I got an opportunity to work for one of the largest tech companies in the world, which I'm still in process with. And he was like, yeah, that's great. But what about the Sully G thing? And I was like, oh, okay. So, we're here for this. This is more important. So I think they respect the fact that, one, they see that I'm happy. They see that I'm doing well. And they see that, I'm making money off of it. Not in a vain way, but, their daughter isn't starving. I'm not struggling here. So they support me, which I appreciate, because I don't know how I would have continued publicly without their support. Yes, very much so.
That's beautiful. A support system is very important. Very, very important. Kudos to your family for maybe not being on board right away, but eventually being like, okay, ella está bien.
Yeah, everyone, they loved what I was doing. I know when I wanted to quit my job, my mom was like, oh, wait, are you sure? We have bills. We have real things that we need to cover here. But I think she trusts me to make responsible decisions. And I wouldn't do something if I didn't know that I was going to be good. So she definitely just supports me no matter what I do.
Okay. So as glamorous as taking pictures and coming up with quirky captions and editing videos and all that jazz is, as much as that looks like fun, it's a lot of work, and success does not happen overnight. So from one business boss lady to two other business boss ladies, once a person realizes what they want to push as an influencer, as a creator, or as a brand, whether it's healthy curly hair or positive body image, online workouts, whatever. From your experience, what should be the next step in becoming a bona fide content creator?
Yeah, that's so good. I think it varies based on the industry. But for me, and from my experience, I can just say establishing your brand and your brand presence all the way around. So what that looked like on social media was ensuring that all my social media handles matched, all my photos matched. I was clear about my values. I was clear about who I was and what was going to be the pillar or like the reoccurring themes and topics within my content, but also just ensuring that I was giving out quality. So everyone doesn't have to do this. And there are people who are successful without it. But I know for me, it bumped me 5 steps ahead, like just delivering quality. So like when I told you guys my mom was going to move in January and she let me know in like October, November, I literally spent those 3 months saving up to buy my camera, buying my editing software, because I just didn't want to operate off of an iPhone. I wanted people to take me seriously. So I think that when you are operating as a brand or as a business, you need to show up the way that you want to be perceived. Like you want to be perceived with quality, then you need to give out quality. You want to be perceived seriously, then you need to show up seriously across all your platforms. So I think establishing your brand, whatever that looks like in your industry, and really delivering quality, because quality will bump you a few steps ahead. I know people would say to me like, oh my God, how long have you been doing this? Or where did you get your camera? Or, did you just start? Versus other people who have been starting, but maybe started in a different light. And that's also what allowed me to work with brands, because they could trust me with the work that I was putting out.
And I'm not a girl. I'm just going to say right off the bat, I was like, ever since I met Sully, I even texted, I was like, hey, Sully, I have some questions for you. Give me some guidance. Do you remember?
Yes.
We still have a follow-up to do, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, I love that because, it's definitely just like anything else. You have to put the time in and understanding, like you said, what is your core values? What is your underlining message throughout everything? And that alone takes time, and that alone takes soul searching and layering and what is your, because like you said, it also not only has to be presented with great quality, but it has to be authentic, because people gravitate to authenticity. And even when I start putting things out, when it's just organic for me, when it's organic and I'm just not thinking about it and I'm just being me and I'm just like, people are just like, oh my God, haha, yeah, what product is this? What is this? And then other times I'm like, no, I'm going to do this like this. And it was just so not me, but I thought that it was the way. And it didn't resonate as well. And it's so, for me, oh my goodness, it's so fascinating. But people like you, man, are mastering it. So I wanted to know, what has been the toughest part about your career?
Oh, wow, that threw me off. The toughest part, which I think a lot of influencers or just content creators in general will say, and I never thought that this was going to be the toughest part for me, would be mastering your mental health and your thoughts. I think I don't have a problem with, I don't have a problem. I don't really let negative comments and stuff get to me and stuff like that. But what does get to me is how quick the industry is moving and how much you have to keep up. And so things or topics like rest, comparison, just keeping up are all very, very real. And you have to remember that, like, apart from the influencer industry moving so fast, tech is also a quickly evolving space that directly influences the influencer industry, because, when video changes or when cameras change or all of that, our quality has to change, because now this person is showing up this way and we want to show up this way if we want to work with brands. So I think mastering the mental part of, like, you don't need to look like what everyone else is looking like. You don't need to show up as much as everyone else is showing up. You need to do what's sustainable for you. That is something that I have not mastered. And it's just an ongoing battle, because the truth of the matter is, this is a business, but my face and me as a person is a brand. So, like, there's no such a thing as me not showing up and the business still operating. Like, I have to show up. Like, I have to physically show up and be on, whether it's a speaking engagement or just being on live or even just recording a video. And sometimes I don't feel like it. Like, a lot of times I don't feel like it. Like, I don't feel like putting on makeup and doing all that stuff. I just want to have my hair out and be chill. So I think mastering the mental piece of influencing is the hardest part. hard skills you can learn, video editing, using a camera, all of that stuff. But really pushing through on the darkest days and all of that, that's what's going to set you apart.
Woo, honey, fire. Listen.
Facts, straight facts.
Because I saw this documentary that it was doing a case study of influencers and how it works, the organic way. There's other ways that you can also build certain things, and also the psychological effects of those people in front of the camera or let's per se. It really, you see certain people thriving and other people just crash because they really own and hone in about the likes. Oh, today was this much. Tomorrow wasn't that much. Why? Is it me? Am I not good? Should I stop? OMG, it's real. Or analysis paralysis, how people say. And or just even like pacing yourself. That whole competition. This person is doing 5 posts a day. Whoa, it is a real girl. So I am so happy that you mentioned that because that is so on point.
It's so real. And I think it shows up in different levels. Like I know you guys are artists, so you even know that a lot of people say you're only as good as your last piece, right? So what does that look like? Now I'm looking at, oh my God, well, I didn't love this piece. Our brand's going to like this. Are my followers going to like this? But and then there's the count. Like I've tried all the ways. Like I've tried buying followers to see if that works for me. That did not work for me. And that's not something, not only did it not work for me, but I didn't feel good about it when I did it. As quick as it came, as quick as it went. That was very early on, but it's just different things that you try out and you see what works for you and you see what doesn't work for you. But just like anything else in life, once you push yourself through the fire or you continue on your journey, you start to learn like, okay, this is my lane. This is where I'm at. Like, I know for me, I was like, I'm gonna just do curly hair and makeup when I first started. And then I started to realize like, I don't care for makeup as much as I think I do. You know what I mean? Like, I like looking pretty, but I don't want to talk about the latest lipstick. Like, that's not my thing. Then it evolved to, I'm so much more than beauty. Like, I just want to go further. Like, and so I started doing wellness content, which is like, I'm like a year in from that. But I was like, are people going to think I'm being too deep or I'm being too this or I'm being too that? But it's just who I am. And my brand is who I am. So I think when you're showing up authentically, it's going to ooze out one way or another, and I can't hold it back. So your brand is ever evolving and you have to allow it to evolve, especially if you're a creative, because I'm learning that creatives just can't be boxed into one thing. Like it's very confining. So you have to welcome evolution, but also, just have a bit of a business mindset and know like, okay, we're evolving into this now, but how can we market this, right? Or how is this going to be perceived by people so that the message is relayed in a digestible way?
For sure. We're layers. We're not just one thing. And I went through that in the beginning when I started talking to you. Something for me gravitated to Sully and her voice and her journey just really spoke to me because I was I was exploring like, I want to do this. I really like it. This was a whole transition for me and I'm proud of it. And I didn't have all the answers. I just had to learn as I go. So, I want to use this tool as well to talk to other curly hair girls or people in transition. Because now we're a whole community. It's not only girls. It's now men and, everybody, babies with curly hair. So when I started with Sully, I was like, Sully, how do I start? I really have a heart for this, but I don't know. I have a business a standpoint of certain things, but this market I do not get at all. So she walked me through a lot of things. So when I started to do certain episode, YaYa, that you're like, yeah, girl, let's do this. Yes, keep it up. I also went through that little stepping stone. I was like, wait, but I like looking pretty, but I don't want to be reviewing makeup all the time. I found more love into shouting out women in businesses. I wanted to shout out people like you. I wanted to shout out, and that started aligning more with me. And it so happens that I take all those little bits of pieces that you've been sharing with me and sharing in your feeds and in your stories, and I apply it to myself. So I'm in that journey myself. So you're doing your thing.
That's amazing. I'm so happy that that's working out. I remember those conversations, and I always encourage them because it's like, you don't know until you ask and you try it. You know what I mean? Like you said, you love supporting and shouting out women businesses. Like it's like that. Sometimes you try something and you're like, okay, I can appreciate this, but I don't need to turn it into a thing. You know, like I can just appreciate it. And I think that was what you said with like makeup and shouting out makeup. So I get it. I so get it.
I was all for Z doing the makeup because when Z does her makeup for shows, she's a superstar without makeup, but I'm like,
yes,
you could be Kim Kardashian's makeup artist. But Z, you have your business ventures, which are great, it makes complete sense that you're bigging up other business women while you're running your own business, which is amazing. But I would like to see, just for fun, once in a blue, if you want to do a curly thing,
For sure. It's just like Sully mentioned before. You got to find those things that really talk about who you are. So definitely I've identified I'm a proud curly girl Latina. And number 2, I'm all about women in business. Number 3 is just, I'm trying to identify those pillars for myself so then everything will click and then I know exactly how I'm going to start building my content. So I've already identified maybe 1 or 2. I don't know if I need more, but I'm in that journey because I'm one of those people that I process things, and when I get it, and then I do it. But when I don't, I'm like, I ask questions, I ask people.
Yeah, that's good. Researching is great because then you figure out if it's really for you, and if it's something you want to put your mind to. Real quick, back to Sully, because I hear you, Z. I hear you. You're in your head planning content, but you're not jumping into the deep side of the pool. You know how I always tell you got to jump in the deep side of the pool. Sully, when you first started thinking before the $17,500 check.
17,500, 17,000. Girl, get it right, girl. You don't be getting those checks every day, girl. You better get the amount right.
You know what I meant? I just didn't feel like saying those other 2 syllables. Listen, how many months before you got that check, before you even got your first care package, hey, here's a free package, can you talk about our stuff? Before all of that, how long were you creating content just for fun, just to see if you liked it?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I've never been asked that, and so I never thought about it. I want to say maybe 6 months. I don't want to put a number out there and then I'm lying, but I want to say 6 months, 6 to 9 months. I was really just not even looking to partner with brands. I was just trying out stuff, and then Diva Curl was my first hair brand that reached out to me. So whenever they did that, that's when I got my first product, but it wasn't right away. I definitely had to create content first so they could know who I was.
You had to create the content. Z, you got to create the content.
People are not gonna know until you put it out.
I'm giving her a hard time, but the same thing with me. For months, I've been thinking, okay, I should put out singing videos. I should be there. I sing. I'm a singer. When this comes back up, I need to be booked.
So you can only imagine what happens, Sully, behind the scenes about oh yeah, you do my content, girl, with the curly. No, you gotta be singing, girl.
Oh my God, you guys are accountability partners. You guys should be pushing stuff out.
We should be.
So you know what's been going on? We've been doing a lot of Sistah Sistah content, and that's how we're getting ourselves motivated. That's how we're learning about everything that works for us. And then what we go is that then now we're okay, now I can use this because I know it works. Now we can use it, now branch it out to ourselves. But yes.
Yes, and I'm learning. It's one, it's a balancing act, right? Trying to do multiple things at one time, but you'll find that 1, creative people, and 2, people in business, hardly do they ever just stick to one thing. I used to get so mad at myself, Sully, you always want to do something. Why don't you just focus on one thing? But that's not the way my brain is wired. Like, I want to try different things. And I find that people who are successful, maybe they're not like jack of all trades, but they have like 2, 3, 4 different things that they tap into, because like we just said, we're not just one thing. There's layers to us, and people connect to different layers of us. So maybe I connect with you guys because of, the community that we were all a part of, and those layers of you. But then there's other people who connect to your voice and you on the podcast, whereas other people connect to your hair, and like people connect to different things. So those are different opportunities to connect to people.
And this world is too big. This world is too big. There's too many people in this world to feel like, well, they're doing it, so why does little old me have to do? No, that's like Burger King to McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken to Popeyes, bleep, 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 bleep. Ulta to Sephora. Like, imagine if those other brands said, well, Sephora's out there, I don't need to open up a makeup. No, do it.
No, we all have fingerprints, and yet all of our fingerprints are different from one another, right? And like, we can all just show up in the world differently, and we will attract the people who are interested in us. And we all come from different walks of life. So I may be a curly girl and you may be a curly girl, but maybe my experience has to do with hair loss and red hair versus your experience is transitioning from, you know what I'm saying? So like, you speak to different people with a different lens based on the walk of life that you've had.
No, but all of this, we also have to let people know what you're brewing, because I know that you're brewing some lessons here and there, and I'm gonna be the first one when my pad and paper, I'm like, I gotta learn what Sully is saying.
Oh my God.
Talk to us
Yes.
about it.
Oh my God. So I am literally dragging my feet because I am like, I don't want to say scared is the word, but for a lack of word, I want to say scared to do this. But I am doing a masterclass. I want to do a masterclass, not so much on social media, but on brand partnerships and how to navigate that space. Because some people show up on social media and, they just want to show up the way they want to show up. Other people are very intentional and that they want to work with brands, right? So it's like, how do I get the attention of brands? How do I secure long-lasting relationship with brands? And how do I get the money that I deserve? So I think that's the arena that that's the masterclass that I'm going to do, but also because that was one of the first experiences I had with my brand that I shared with you guys, where I got this huge check when I didn't even have 10,000 followers, which hardly ever happens. And I think that for everything you go through is for a reason. And I think because I had that experience, I can speak to, okay, I know what it is to have a small audience and still make a lot of money. I still feel like I have a small audience, but I still make good money. And so I want to market to micro influencers or even nano influencers who want to make money as someone who's also a micro influencer. So there are people who love to make masterclasses, but they got 200,000 followers. I can't relate to that because I don't have 200,000 followers, but I have 22 and I had 10 and I had 5. And I could tell you what my steps were like when I was there, because I wasn't there not too long ago. So that's what I'm working on. I don't want to put a date out, but it will be coming out this summer, which is exciting. I also have my website with sullyguzman.com, and it's officially finished, and I'm very, very proud and happy about it. So that's happening amongst some other things, but those are the 2 more recent and exciting things that are happening.
You got a lot.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
Thank you.
You have a lot going on, and it's a blessing, and we're definitely happy for you, proud of you. Having met you a year and a half, right before the pandemic, and seeing you grow, because we're both, we got our eyes on you, and we're learning from you, and we're inspired by you, and we know that it's not easy. You mentioned earlier, a lot has been happening in the world that's, not directly hitting all of us physically, but emotionally it is. And also dealing with our own stresses and everything else that we have in our own lives going on. And it's great that you're about self-love, you're an advocate for it, and healthy mental health. We are all about self-love and self-care here at Sistah Sistah. So, and we know that's a big part of your brand. What do you do to get back to your zone when you're not feeling your strongest or best?
Oh my gosh. So I can give you practical and then I can give you just like general. I had
you, Sully, you.
yeah, practical things that I do and then like general things that I do. So I can tell you I had 2 bad days last week. And it's a lot of mental, right? So like speaking to yourself and going against the negative thoughts that you have. So like, this is just a thought. This is not true, or this is not, you're not defined by this moment. You just got to push past it. I like to clean when I'm upset or when I'm stressed, because I feel like, it just does something for me. I like to read the word, read the Bible, and just go to something that I know doesn't change. In moments where I feel like I'm changing or where the world is changing around me, I just need something that's solid. And I also like to talk to my loved ones. So like my friends and my family, it's specifically people who have known me and know me for who I am, because they can speak life into me at moments when I'm just not speaking so nice to myself. So I really think just going back to things that are authentic to who you are at your core. And then doing little practical, like tangible things like cleaning, because I think for me, my house is usually a reflection of what's happening mentally. Like I have a load of laundry next to me that you guys don't see, and I need to put all of that away because that's just me. Yes. So like just doing stuff like that makes me feel a lot better, and makes me appreciate myself more.
And I know that you've been posting a lot about, which I'm proud of, because I'm in that journey. It's like, going into therapy and journaling and reading and all that stuff. That's, I want to continue pushing this method of normalizing that mental health is also part of our well-being. And like, just like you check in to make sure that your heart and your blood and your this and your that is good, you got to do your mental checkup and your soul checkup. So, I want, especially this year, has been very strong about that. And I want to continue, we've been continuing saying, yes, mental health is a key.
So important. I say that all the time. So it's funny that you say that. Like we get physicals all the time. Like, why is there no mental check-in included in your insurance? Or like, why is it not mandatory for you to do that too? Because, once you lose your mind, everything else falls short. You know what I mean? Like you could break an arm, but you could still operate. But if you're not okay mentally, it's almost as if your body just shuts down. So I agree with you guys. And I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for therapy, especially for men within our communities of color. Like we need to give them the space to express themselves so that they don't go out into the world and have to be angry or have to feel defensive or whatever it is, but also so that we can have more men in our homes to take care of our families, and we can break these cycles of just like, it's a whole cycle, it's a whole system, and it really just boils down to taking care of your mental health, of yourself, and just ultimately being loved.
If we could start a movement, like the same way we've started, like in history, civil rights movement, the women's suffrage movement, if there's a way that we can start, and it could start with the 3 of us and our listeners or whoever, that's a very important point, that healthcare overlooks mental health. And that's what needs to be worked. A physical is once a year. Our mental health should be worked on every single day, but therapy is expensive. It could be worked on once a week, and that could be included in healthcare. Like, I don't know, they trying to set us up for failure. I'm just all kinds of confused.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think that this past year and a half, I think their ears and eyes are in alert, because there is PTSD from all of this. So I'm sure that they're gonna be more open about certain services, and hopefully we're hoping that it's part of a mandate or covered by the most basic medical plans that people are for free or can afford. So we're hoping for the best, but at this moment in time, we can definitely use our platform to say we're in therapy, is much needed. It's just like anything else, and we should do it. It's
like going to the gym. You go to the gym to work out, to feel good. I mean, I hope it's more for feeling good. Looking good is just a byproduct of going to the gym. It's feeling good, but it's the same thing. And then going back real quick to your answer about what it is that you do to get back to your center. You clean, you read the Bible, you reach out to loved ones. I want our listeners and our watchers to take a mental note, a very clear note. Nowhere in there did Sully say, I go through social media, I spend my time on social media to forget my problems. I watch a movie to forget my problems. That's probably the stuff. That's definitely what we need to stay away from when we're having a dark moment or are not feeling ourselves.
Absolutely. I can say that scrolling usually brings me to my dark moment sometimes because that's my space, right? So sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm such a failure. I'm not good. I'm not going to be great. And then it just spirals into something bad. But also, entertainment is great, right? There's a place for that. I appreciate the art industry and what they offer, the entertainment industry. But when you're in those places, you don't want to look for, and you don't want to look for a distraction or a bandage. Like you really need something that's going to renew or transform. So like whether it's somebody that's speaking life into your thoughts, whether it's the word of God that transforms your mind, or something as simple as cleaning your house that transforms your environment, you need transformation. A movie can absolutely be inspiring, and I'm not taking away from any of that. But a lot of times TV is a thing you do in passing. And I know when I'm in my head and in my dark spaces, I can do something in passing, but I'll return right back to where I was. I need something that's going to be transformative because I need to get out of that space. I don't need to just put a Band-Aid over it or just like blur it or have a drink and then return to it. I need something that's going to transform my outlook and transform my reaction.
For sure. We all, even machines be needing some reset.
Okay, maintenance.
So that's all we got to say about that.
Why?
So guess what time it is? People never know, but we just shimmy. People never know, but we just shimmy. Anyways, it's time for
Sully shimmying with us. Normally people
that's what I'm saying. But that's how we vibe with Sully, because Sully just be shimmy. She's like, I'm ready for it.
I'm excited. I'm here for whatever you guys have.
It's rapid fire questions where you have 30 seconds to answer the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it is, and it has to be like, aye. Ready?
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go, YaYa.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Friendly, loving, and silly.
Morning or night person?
Night person.
1-piece swimsuit or 2-piece bikini?
2-piece.
Ooh. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Oh my God. Wow. So good. I got 30 seconds. My superpower, like what I would want or what I currently have?
Oh. No. If you were, okay, Miss Superhero, go ahead.
No. I'm just saying, like, based on like gifts that I have, or like what kind of superhero I would want to be.
You just flipped it on us, so tell us right now what it is. What is your superpower?
I'll say what I don't have. What I would want is to be able to teleport, so I can just move around whenever I feel like it. Like if I want to go to another country, I can. But if I was a real superhero, I think I would be like a very empathetic, save the world superhero, because I just have a heart for people and I just want to save everything and world peace and stop world hunger and all those things.
Aww.
Great one. How do I move on from that? Okay.
We have to.
What profession would you do other than content creator?
I'd be in marketing, in tech and marketing in the music industry.
Oh.
Ooh, music. Ooh. First body part you're attracted to on a romantic interest.
I'm torn between the eyes and the smile, but I think it's the eyes. I'm very attracted to people's eyes.
Okay.
The soul is the soul.
Yes, it is.
What is a sound that makes you smile?
Laughter, other people's laughs. Also, babies, the sound of babies.
Oh, I me too. I love that.
And your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse. Oh my God. So I don't curse. I don't curse. I haven't cursed for years. The people don't really notice that about me until I say it. The curse that I would probably say the most is just ass. So like, I guess that's my favorite curse word, but I mean, I barely use it, but when I do use it, it's there.
We'll hold it against you. We won't, because sometimes she doesn't want to curse, and sometimes it'll come out. But most of the time, she says,
I flip it like fudgies.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm silly like that. But I love it. Good job.
That was fun. I love rapid fire. You never know what you're gonna get.
That's right. You never know what you're gonna get. That's right. That's how we do it here. Oh, Sully, tell everybody what they can look forward to aside from what the masterclass.
Okay, yeah. So just be on the lookout. I'm probably gonna start vlogging again, or I just started vlogging. So I'll be doing like day in the life stuff as opposed to just like showing up beauty and stuff. So if you check out my YouTube channel, Sully G, SULLYG, you can find me there. Other than that, just traveling and that masterclass, which hopefully will turn into more than that. I intend on doing more speaking engagements, so you can look for me there. I'm actually on Clubhouse on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. just speaking life into people on Faith Faith Every Day. The room is called Faith Every Day, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. And yeah, for all other things, you can find me on Instagram, because that's probably where I give the most of my announcements, or, you know, just things happening in my life. Not announcements. That sounds really stuffy.
Announcements. You got to announce the stuff that's happening. I mean, notices, you know. So, and speaking of Instagram, before we let you go, tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you on Instagram, on Clubhouse, on your website, all those wonderful connecting platforms.
Sure. So my name is my game. So you'll find me everywhere under my name. On Instagram, it's SULLYG_. That's Instagram. On Clubhouse, I'm Sully G. YouTube, I'm Sully G. And my website is Sully Guzman, GUZMAN. I'll also be blogging. So I'll be writing. I'm putting a lot on myself. I don't know why, but I will be writing too. So you can look forward to those blog posts on my website.
You got to let it out. So
because you can do it.
Yeah, if you gotta let it out. If you gotta let it out and then be creative about it, why not?
Right. It has to come out one way or another.
You're here for it. So, you know.
Thank you.
I'm on.
I just want to say, I love what you guys are doing. Listen, I was supposed to be on here a long time ago. Let me just say that. So thank you for your guys' patience with me on that. I love that you guys are just so like silly but loving, but also speak business. I think that's something that needs to show up more in the world. You know, I think women should continue to showcase getting along with other women, being in business with other women, and just being pillars of support for each other. So I am like wholeheartedly 100% here for what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. And we're going to then say that you're officially a Sistah.
Thank you. I feel honored to be an honorary sister.
Yes. Oh, we're so proud of you. Thank you for your time, my love.